You are listening to the Backline podcast.
I'm Trey,
This is Tristan.
and you're listening to the Backline podcast. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is episode 23 of the Backline podcast. And today we're going to talk about going digital. But before that, though we have not been playing live, we've been putting out some songs this summer. We put out 3 since May. We released Mud in May, Narcissist in June, and Reflection in July. All have been a little bit different in flavor, which kind of throws us back to our roots, kind of even close to the Center Micromanager era. And it's just kind of the way we're going right now. We're not really writing to fit a genre. We're literally writing for ourselves, and we hope everybody likes it. And if you don't, you don't. But it's been more fun that way, and there's been no deadlines because we're doing everything ourselves, which will lead us into what we're going to talk about today. But till we get to then, and yeah, we actually did a poll on Facebook, and the fan favorite has been Narcissist. So yeah, it's been a fun, somewhat painstaking process to record some of these, but yeah. What's your favorite out of the 3, Tristan?
I think, like, as far as overall composition and what we did to make it work, I liked Reflection. That was kind of a weird, like, the drumming in that one is kind of like a little bit spacey for what it's worth. Whereas like Narc has like a faster paced kind of like punky verse riff, and it opens up in the chorus. It's between those two as far as overall composition, but I think Reflection is my favorite one.
Nice. I think I agree with the fans. I think I like Narcissist, but I like Reflection too. But I actually had a lot of fun with Mud.
Mud was fun. That was fun recording that one, because that was kind of like, that one kind of fell into place more than the other ones. The other ones were more compositions,
really did.
And Mud was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is the song actually, lol.
And then the music video we did in a night or a couple of times.
Yeah, low budget, made it work.
Yeah. So yeah, the main thing with those songs, and kind of what we will transition into today, like I've been saying already, is since we've been doing the DIY recording, we've been doing everything ourselves. We've been utilizing more digital instrumentation, like during the scratch tracks, during the demos, and just getting more comfortable with it. And in that process, we've also been super refining. That doesn't even sound right. We've been refining kind of that setup as well. So continue what you were going to say.
Just that, yeah, like we've been utilizing different tools than we had prior. Like now we're not just recording with live instruments. We're taking the time to like kind of do a weird delta in between like demo and production, where it's done with digital instruments and almost a full composition, just not quite the exact analog sound we're looking for. And it's made the writing process different since as compared to what we've done prior.
It's been different, but it's also been almost more efficient
100%.
When you can just do it on a digital instrument, and it allows. And we're skipping over some things here, but we will get into that here in a second. But this also, in regards to digital instrumentation and our new setup, back in July, Mile 134 hit 10 years of being a band under Mile 134, because we were called something else prior for about a year and a half. Kind of a lineup that was all over the place. So after this podcast comes out later today at 2:00, we will be streaming on our Twitch channel with our new digital setup. We're going through almost our entire discography from Center and even before that, and all the way to current. So you're going to get to hear the 3 new songs we just talked about live for the first time. Live in quotes. I mean, it's digitally live, but
That's technically live.
So be sure to check it out. It's going to feature our new setup. It's at our second practice location and we've never streamed there. So check it out. Tris, anything to add?
Yeah, no, just that it's a fully digital setup. It's going to be a little goofy. Obviously not quite. Well, I'll leave it as a little bit of a surprise, I guess, if you're tuning in. But it'll be interesting. Obviously the both of us are more used to like the feedback of full instrumentation and whatnot. But this setup's a little bit different, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how it all comes together in the actual performance. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's you say goofy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a goofy setup at all because, I mean, think of all the stuff we did back when we first started streaming, putting mics in front of mains and shit like that. I think this will be really nice and clean. And the big thing with this digital setup is that you can control the balance a lot better.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, we've done some janky stuff before. But I guess just as far as not necessarily the sound will sound, it should sound good. Like overall, the sound will sound really balanced as far as the stream is concerned. But it's just like it's weird for us because like we're very much used to like direct feedback stuff and whatnot. So it'll be interesting, 100%.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. We've had a couple practice sessions with this setup. It's gone well. Hope you guys enjoy it. So that's at 2:00 later today. Once this podcast comes out, it'll be later today, but we're recording it ahead of time.
Right. He threw me off.
I'm not fooling anybody here. So I'm not fooling anybody here. So I'm just be straight up. So episode 23, talking about digital instrumentation and kind of embracing digital. It's not like back in the day where everything's analog. It's you can do so much with so little nowadays, and that's good and bad. I mean, you kind of, in a sense, that means every Tom, Dick, and Harry can write music, which isn't a bad thing, but it means, it just saturates that market a little more. There's not as big of a need to go to, professional studios, so that kind of hurts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just slowly learning this digital stuff. We've gone all in, like I said earlier. We're trying to pretty much do all our scratch tracks, demos, fully digital. Depending on how the stream goes, that'll probably be our primary setup as well. Without playing live shows all the time. I mean, still, when we play live shows, it's all analog equipment. It's half stacks. It's a full kit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really hard to get away from something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, like, our setup for this upcoming performance is fully digital, but like we do our recordings on analog instruments so far, at least.
That's a good call out.
Yeah, like all of our instrumentation prior to now, and I think even going forward, we'll probably do, at least with like relatively analog stuff. I'll, obviously when I'm mixing, I do different things, but to kind of explain the difference between digital and analog, analog being like an actual like guitar amp or an acoustic drum kit, right? Being recorded with microphones in a setting. Digital just meaning that we're running either an electric drum kit for the drums, or like the guitar running through just an input directly into a computer that then simulates the amp so it records cleanly. I guess that's kind of the gist of it.
It's so essentially, guys, when like we're practicing on this setup, we are silent to the outside world, except for, you can hear the drum pads it just sounds like tapping.
Yeah.
And then obviously if we sing, you can't, we don't have
digital voices.
Yeah. You still have to sing, but it's really it's allowed us to be more versatile and adapt, whether it be for practicing, recording, scratch tracks, or whatever. You don't have to have this huge setup. You don't have to kick people out of your house because you're going to be loud.
Yeah.
You don't have to piss neighbors off, So it's been really cool. And you guys will see that on our stream. And, if we continue to dial it in, because Tristan, you've got some good drum plugins. I'm still running with my Line 6 Pod HD500X that we've got dialed in, and actually did use it for a live show at one time, and it sounded pretty good. So the stuff's dialed in pretty good. And for streams, you really can't tell. I mean, when we were using half stack amps and full kits for the stream, it probably wasn't super clean, and it's really not. You can't push an amp that hard.
No.
on a stream.
Yeah,
you know what
and
I
make
mean?
it sound
So,
good. It's way different if you're doing a live performance. Like if I can dive into this a little bit. Like,
yeah,
when you're trying to fill out a room with sound, it requires like air movement to do that, right? And that air movement requires something that can push the air, aka an amp, right? It needs to be able to put out enough just sound to make sure that guitar comes across through the mix, right? The drums are always going to be loud. There's not a setting where the drums are quiet, right? And so like that's required for live performances and very much is like a flavor. There's a flavor to that analog sound. Obviously, you're running your guitar through a cabinet an amp head that runs into a cabinet. Then there's a lot of factors there that can affect your guitar tone and whatnot, including the setting in the room that it's in. And you lose out on just the natural acoustics of that with a digital setup, but you get, I want to say, at least 70 to 80% of the way there. And then with a little reverb and a little bit of touch in the mixing, you can kind of get a pretty good, basically CD quality sound out of pretty cheap stuff and pretty simple setup otherwise. Like it's relatively simple otherwise. And, like you said with the pod, like something like that, or like an amp sim can make the sound the right way, but it often can't move the air enough to really get the actual acoustic sound. And not acoustic as an acoustic guitar. I'm talking like the sound waves bouncing off of the walls to actually make the guitar sound the right way. So you see that in live setups sometimes where folks use digital stuff, but sometimes you miss a little bit of the color on the guitar or a little bit of the oomph that you miss from the amps. As much as they can try to make up for it, it's not quite the same as, an actual amp with, a heavy signal being pushed out of it into a cab that is then pushing air. There's a big difference there. Same thing with the electric drums. If somebody like me, a ham-fisted drummer, is on a kit, you will feel a lot of what I'm doing. If you put me on an electric kit in front of an audience or in a room, you're going to lose out on just the touch and feel of me actually beating the shit out of these things, right? But it makes sense in a stream setting or a recording setting where we're taking sound and getting it into, digitizing it so that it would then go into essentially a live video format that then gets, sent to, your headphones or whatever you're listening on. So our goal is to balance that. We've all listened to those shows, from like the 80s or the 90s, like the live shows that are turned into a DVD. And you can just tell they tried their hardest to get the mix to sound right, but there's something wrong. We're doing our best to try to make it sound like as clean as possible, essentially. I'm like, in all reality, this setup is the same as our recording setup or like what I use for my recording setup for like my solo stuff. Like it's the same method. So you're essentially getting that recording quality except for live. So it's interesting. Of course, you have to set the setting with reverb and whatnot to make sure it looks and sounds and matches what you're seeing. But it's an interesting little process.
Yeah, it's the art of manipulation.
It's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, that's for sure. But the goal is it's a performance.
I've put a lot of time in my tone over the years for live, being the amp choice, the pickup choice, the pedal board, streamline. It's not huge, but it's very specifically set up for me.
Yeah, like that's your sound.
To go down to a pod. Yeah, and to go down to a pod or a modeler, I'm the last person who wants to do that. But I'll tell you what, convenient, and you get a nice clean signal, and they're just you can get them dialed pretty close, like you're saying. I mean, if you're just gonna listen on headphones, it'll do the job. Live setting, yeah. When we did it for that one live show, it was you were missing a little bit, but it is what it is. When you only played, I think we played a half hour of that set, and there was like 13 bands. It's like, yeah, are we gonna bring in the Bachner, or are we just gonna use this?
It's a pain in the ass to lug that gear around, so you have to balance convenience with sound, right?
Yeah, and the older I get, I'm like, I will sacrifice a little bit of sound for this. Probably shouldn't be that way, but
well, I think there's a lot of your sound that depends on just being able to push that amp too. And the same thing with the drums, right? Like that drum kit that I have is not a good jazz kit, right? You shouldn't play that kit quietly, really. And sometimes you can't, you're in a room you don't want to, obliterate the audience's ability to hear for the next week and a half. So, you're not trying to play as loud as you can. So it makes sense for some of those settings. Like you said, headphones and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna plug in your big tube amp and your 4-speaker cabinet to like practice for like 10 minutes, right? Like you would throw on some headphones or plug the pod in and just listen, right?
Yeah, and that goes back to what I said. It's like when we're not playing live, your drums are put away, my half stack and amp heads are put away, and that's what I use as my pod for practicing, for writing. That's the nice thing too, for like bouncing ideas. I mean, I remember when we were doing it, when we were having jam sessions to write on the live shit, it would just annoy the shit out of, it didn't matter where we were practicing at, it would just annoy people because you sit there and hash out a riff like 10 times till you can move on.
Yep.
Yeah, and now it's like when you're digital, you don't bother anybody and you can do whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you need this space. It's too, like you said, it's too convenient, right? Like even when I lived in an apartment, I had that electric drum kit and I could still practice, in a studio apartment without disturbing too many people. Probably my downstairs neighbor didn't like me too much, but what do they care?
It's totally versatile. I mean, I've been pushing back against the digital stuff for a long time, but man, maybe that's because I didn't know. I mean, I'm not slowly. I'm kind of on top of my pod. I'm still learning the recording process just by listening and watching you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been another weapon in the arsenal a little bit, is the digital stuff, and it's opened up a lot of doors on, like I said, where we can practice, when we can practice, how we write, how we scratch track, because there's nothing like setting up frickin' 6 mics for a drum kit and 2 or 3 for a guitar amp when we're just doing scratch tracks, and then you got to balance all that shit out. It's like, it's so nice when you can just run direct and go. And the other cool thing about the digital stuff is, I mean, I can do a guitar track, put it together, and then send you the drums, and you can do it. It's like before because of our locations, we would have to do it at one spot because we could be loud. So obviously, like Tristan said at the beginning of this, I don't think all of our recordings that we've done up until this point, even the 3 new ones and the 6 more that we have done, they're all analog. So that's Bogner amp, that's Tristan's live drum set. We have not crossed that line into digital yet, but Tristan does some of his solo stuff in a lot of genres. I don't even know if he can put a genre on it, but he's been doing it all digital for the most part. Couple of things here and there weren't, but mostly digital. And he's offering mixing, mastering, recording stuff. So he's been doing it for a couple other people as well. So hit him up. But yeah, so it can be done either way. That's the cool thing about music, is there's no rules, man. It goes right back to, what kind of our values are as a band. It's like we don't try to write to fit a genre, and no rules.
Yeah.
So,
and like you mentioned, like pushing back against the digital stuff, I think there's an importance in acknowledging that digital is not the same as analog, but it's okay to use it as a tool, right? Like it's way too convenient.
For sure.
If you're going to hamper yourself by not being able to practice because you can't be loud, that's like you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like you might as well invest in digital so you can progress as a musician, or, learn how to.
But to your point, right? Like, don't try to convince me that your pod sounds better than my Bogner, because I had a guy at a show try to do that once. I'm like, hey, it sounded good up there, man. Yeah, it's just my pod. And I'm like, I said it sounded. I didn't say this, but I'm like, I said it sounded good. I didn't say it sounded fantastic. And he was just raving about his pod, and I'm like, dude. And it was like one of the first gen pod goes or some shit. And I'm like, I mean, no, I didn't, I'm trying to support, I'm trying to be nice, but it's like, dude, that doesn't hold a candle to the Bogner. So don't try to fucking convince me that, at this time, I don't think digital sounds better than analog. But however, like I've heard some of the Helix rack mounted heads. Gosh, they sound pretty good. So, I mean, whatever.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But it's like you said, like it's a really flat sound from those things. It's not It's not really punchy.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bring you into the live setting. It's very much, you can tell, like, if you're paying attention and, you know, you're not fucking drunk and dancing on the dance floor, you can tell there's a little bit of a disconnect between the guitar player and like what sound he's creating, because he's using a digital setup, as compared to, you know, if there's an amp there, it's like direct feedback. But
And I think it would be different as like if we were a cover band, right? Then my tone, I'd be like, whatever. You just got to try
you
to
just need
match
to get
it.
50%
But
of the
it's
way
like,
there. That's pretty much it.
yeah. But our own stuff, it's like, I want the Bogner.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I got the Boss Katana MK2 dialed in to sound like the Bogner. And it's like, I want one of those. And then I got the 4x12 loaded cab. So it's like, that's the sound I want.
Yeah.
For my shit. When we do cover shows, I could care less. You know, give me the pod.
Yeah.
Give me the reset the Boss Katana and just put it on factory settings. It's like, that'll do the job for that kind of show.
Your Boss Katana is kind of half and half, right? It's kind of a half tube, half digital, or half solid state, rather. Not digital, but solid state.
It's got mimicking, or there's a term for it. It's solid state, but there's a term for it. But anyways, that's been a solid.
Yeah, solid state and tube is a whole other discussion. Like that would require another hour of talking about how vacuum tubes work and whatnot. But digital is kind of the next step to that, right? It's like, you know, when we're playing, even when you were here before, not to dive back into it, but I just want to add, like, even when you were here before and you didn't have the pod, I still had guitar amp sims in our recording software. So we just ran what was essentially your direct guitar signal into my computer. And then what we heard was an amplified guitar, right? It's actually a branded Mesa Boogie amp, lol. And you know, it sounds pretty good for what it's worth, but you know, you're really only getting that raw guitar signal it's recording, as compared to running it through like an amp or whatnot too. So it's interesting all around. I could go on for hours about how interesting it is, but
no, it's cool, man. It's I'm excited to try it out here on our stream. The test runs we've done so far, everything sounded pretty good. The only thing is sometimes and you might see this on stream, and this is one downside of digital, is Tristan's drum pads sometimes
they don't activate.
They're touchy, and then they're not. Yeah, and then they're not.
So
touchy.
What happens with those is, because that drum kit is not using the audio. So drum kits have like the ability to send their own audio, right? Like you could just send it as an audio file. Like it has drum kits loaded on it. You could plug it into an amp and play out loud, right? But the way we use it is as essentially a driver for a drum kit on my computer. So when I hit the snare, it tells the computer to play essentially on a piano the snare note that would play on that piano, and it's called the MIDI. But so then what happens is the pads this drum kit's been a fucking workhorse of a drum kit. It's an old Alesis Forge back when they made those, and back when they were actually good. It doesn't owe me a damn thing. It was like a $200 kit at the time. And it is all rubber pads, but the problem is that they need to be replaced. And they can be replaced, I just haven't invested in them yet. So you'll hit them every now and then, and the first trigger will work, but you'll go to swing again, and then nothing will happen. It just will not make noise. And it sucks sometimes for our music, because I'm playing, you know, sometimes a little bit faster than maybe that kit wants to. So you'll if you tune in, you'll probably see me make some funny faces if a drum hit doesn't come through. That's one of the downsides of digital kits, is that you will see me swing and then nothing will happen. Yeah,
but you got it sounding pretty good with the plug-in that you're running.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a chain. It's another branded drum kit. Oh yeah, and it's all mixed up like it's a recording. So.
Yeah, it'll be good. So the test runs we've done have sounded good. What else was I gonna say along the lines of this drum kit? Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna be running through our discography, so it's gonna touch a number of different genres, but you know, we're gonna be using the same equipment, so it's gonna be. You know, I think the flavor is going to be a little bit different, because again, we're using digital equipment when back then we didn't. It was all analog. So, you know, if you're tuning in as somebody who has heard all the music we've played before, you might experience, you know, some different flavors of how that would sound if it was recorded on a different A different
today.
mile 134 timeline.
Yeah, no, and on top of that, that's where I was going
Sure.
with it is we can actually play most of the songs on the digital equipment, but there's some spots that we had to adjust. Not drastically, but just like, for example, Tristan in the double kick, he can do it on the analog kit, but sometimes this digital one doesn't always catch it all. So we've done some workarounds. You might catch it in a couple of the songs, but yeah, if you guys want if you want to request anything, because like I said, we're running through almost all of our discography. I would say 90% of it. We're leaving off a couple. But if you want to hear anything, just be sure to comment on the chat, shoot us an email beforehand, go on the Facebook event, hit us up. The event's on Facebook, Bands in Town, Twitch, Reverb Nation. So just get a hold of us. Let us know what you want to hear. Otherwise, the chat, like I said, and in the chat, we've been partnering with a Printify company called Ollie Designs, and we actually have new merch for sale on there. So we will be sure to pin that at the top of the chat. And we'll also drop a link to Bandcamp, our coffee, and Spotify. So you can check out everything Mile 134. Our big platform, as you know, this year has been Substack. It's been fantastic. It's really been a simple to use site, and people have really dug the write-ups on the songs we've been doing. We got a compliment on the Narcissist write-up. We've been putting obviously the podcast episodes on there, and then paid subscribers have been getting some other stuff that you get if you pay to subscribe. So
Plug.
It's been a cool platform. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this stream. Fully digital, throwback to the origins of Mile 134 until current, and you might even get some songs that aren't even on the internet anymore. So that were pre-Sinner, and yeah, we had some relearning to do on some of these songs.
Interesting to relearn your own music, especially with the tools that we have now. It's like way different. So we're just like, oh, is that how that's supposed to sound?
Well, even the habits you develop, or the muscle memory as a guitar player,
right?
that you develop just by by chugging and shit, and then you go back to, Sinner wasn't a lot of chugging, and it's like, whoa,
who's this guitar
weird.
player? What the hell? Yeah.
Why does this song have a solo?
Yeah.
What the hell?
For me, it's the fills. Like I'll back when I was in like Sinner era, I did way different fills than I do towards the hour and Micromanager.
But that's the cool thing, right? It's as we say with our albums, it's a snapshot in time. So that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing to look back on, and it was fun. I'm not gonna lie to. Well, I practice guitar. Don't get me wrong, but to go back and practice my old shit, I'm like, don't want to do this. But it was fun once I got in the mood to go back and relearn them, and some of the solos are still kicking my ass off Sinner, so we'll see how they go on the
Tune
stream.
in for that. Tune in for the parts that we mess up, if anything.
Yeah, and if you guys like it, just let us know, because like I said, with that streamlined digital setup, we should be able to make that more reoccurring. Yeah. So we're still refining it right now, and that's the other thing we're going to be looking for as well, is we want your feedback.
Yeah.
After that stream, either in the chat, let us know if shit's too loud, too quiet, how it sounds, if you're dealing with any lag, whatever. But we're going to refine it. It can even come down to the lighting, because that was something that I was fucking around with quite a bit our last practice. So just be sure to let us know, and we're going to continue to improve it and continue to make that happen, because, shoot, I do like streaming.
It's pretty convenient to just put on a performance in the setting, like in your recording setting. That's for sure.
And I can't tell you how many people reach out to, and they're like, oh, it's sweet. I can just sit in my house and watch you guys. So it's like, yeah, it'll be good. And I think, like I said, going back to the point of this episode is, I think with the digital, we really have control. I think we have more control over every variable that goes into a live performance.
It's
other than like if we had a Wi-Fi interruption, but where we have it at, that won't happen.
It should be fine. Unless like the entire block loses internet, we'll be fine.
Unless they shut the power grid off.
They fucking turn us off. They're gonna shut us down.
But I mean, think all the shit when we were doing analog streams that would go wrong. I mean, there was so many variables you couldn't control.
No, yeah, 100%. And, even if you mixed it and turned it up and down, like, let's say you go and you just need to hear more of your amp and turn it up, like, then you would do that and it would fuck up the sound, right? Or like if I'm hitting the drums too hard.
Yeah, do you remember how frustrating that shit used to be?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because you really
I was the guy taking the brunt of the frustration. Why isn't this sound good?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Turned your amp up.
That's what you were getting the sound guy treatment.
That's the nature of the field, though.
I can't hear me.
I can't hear me. Oh shit. Yeah.
But no, I the digital, I really think we got it down, and I even tweaked my amp modeler there our last stream, so it's almost like our live setup as far as even down to the pedals inside my modeler. So I think everybody's really gonna like it. We've got some good control, and Tristan's got us dialed in, so be sure to tune in. Reach out to Tristan for any recording, mixing, mastering needs. And continue to look out for Mile 134, because like I said, 3 songs are out: Mud, Narcissist, Reflection. And we've got a lot more in queue. We're just, again, we're not in any rush to put these out. So just be sure to follow us anywhere but Facebook. Yeah. I'm on there because that's where we built kind of our foundation.
It's like,
that's why I'm pushing people to Substack and even our bands in town and our Instagram and Snapchat. Instagram is meh, but it's like the rest of those, they're
just better for band stuff. Facebook is,
it's
if
something.
You want updates from us that are more attentive and prominent and maybe a little bit more direct, you're going to want to follow us on another platform, because the other ones are more facilitated towards, bands giving you information. So that's where you'll want to find us.
Like I said, I keep pumping Substack, but that is really where we put our energy into with podcasts and behind the scenes stuff and songs, and that's how we connect with people better. So Substack, follow us,
get us on there. Make sure you follow us on Twitch so you get the notification for Saturday. And what's our Twitch? I think it's twitch.tv/my134official.
Yes, sir.
2 p.m. August 16th, Saturday. Be there or be square.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
Today, actually.
I think by yeah, that's right. By the time you're listening to this, it's today. It is the day of the stream. But another reason to check out that stream is because we're still on break from live shows. Yeah. So really, guys, if you want to catch us playing, if you got the itch to see us, because I know people have been asking, family, friends of ours, when are the boys playing again? Well, you can catch us on stream. We're just not actively booking right now.
Yeah.
Having more fun doing the writing, recording.
That's kind of where we're at. So, it's just like trying to dive into the more creative side, see if we can get more like songs made and whatnot, and stepping away from the live scene for a little bit so we can do that. And obviously we all have different obligations and whatnot, so gotta make time.
Yeah. So be sure to tune in to the stream, and if you like it, maybe we'll do some more. But that is going to be our ode to 10 years, a decade of Mile 134. I can't believe it's been that long already, but it has been.
It's crazy.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Trey.
This is Tristan.
Peace.
Deuces.
Thank you for listening to the Backline podcast.